Welcome back to the session. It's my pleasure to be talking to Nicole Yershon, founder of Ogilvy Labs and author of Rough Diamond. Thank you for joining us, Nicole. Could you just give us a little bit of background information about yourself?
Sure. I'm Nicole Yershon, only one of me, which is really good if, with the SEO.
Right.
So thanks to my parents
They
for that
did a good
name.
job.
Yeah. Background, I'm a mum, 2 kids, but also my kids are 23 and 21.
Right.
And background work-wise, I started life at Gold Green East Trot, which was in the 80s, so in its heyday was the most awarded agency, and Dave Trott has always kind of been like a mentor of mine since I was about 19.
Amazing.
And then following that, then I was at Simons Palmer. So Simons Palmer, Denton, Clemo and Johnson. So many great people working at those 2 companies, and people that were very much like myself, doers, entrepreneurial, quite fearless. And then I went to Ogilvy in 2000 with a brief from the chairman there at the time to bring them into the 21st century. Yeah. So turn them from, help them with analog and moving them to a digital world.
That's quite a bold brief to be given, which feels like very early on in your career. How did that come about? And there's a lot of trust that he's putting in you there.
Yeah, that's because I've never done a CV.
Okay.
So when I was at GGT, Simons Palmer, Ogilvy, I was always phoned up and asked by people that had worked with me to come in and do and help. I had a reputation of being a bit of a fixer, a bit of a kind of like Harvey Keitel.
Okay.
So although I started life as traffic and make things happen, don't go over budget, right people see things, so very much a producer, project manager role. Actually what ended up happening when I was at Simons Palmer and I'd had my kids was I started to be given jobs, weird jobs of just help. We don't know what it is that you need to do, but we're in a bit of a fix and we know we need to move buildings, or we know need to do whatever it is that they needed to do. They then trusted me to just do it.
Right.
So when I went to Ogilvy, it was the task was given from the chairman of Ogilvy at the time, who worked with me at Simons Palmer, who was also chairman, and he was also at Gold Green East Trot.
I see.
So that's how
he had spotted your impact that you'd made at the other 2 businesses.
Because he didn't really know what it was that he wanted me to do. He just knew that when he was there, he didn't know what was happening. It was all paper.
Okay.
And he needed to get stuff done, and there was a wodge that thick of what the creative department were doing, and he couldn't really understand it, and who was on holiday and who wasn't, and money was flying out of the company in terms of estimates weren't necessarily being signed off, but the nature of the business was so quick, so it was kind of quick, let's just quickly do this. Right, so purchase orders were being done, but no money was coming back in. Yeah.
And you obviously went in there and
kicked some ass,
made stuff happen.
It was a brief that was, no one really knew what it was that I needed to do. They just knew that with digital happening, it was quicker, better, stronger, faster in terms of cost and time efficiency savings.
Yes, and just for our audience that may be not aware of your dad and also Dave Trott, could you just give us a short summary of those guys?
Dave Trott is, now he's a renowned author, so he has 3 books, he's on Twitter and social, he's very kind of good on social media, but he is highly creative, but also he gets down to the nub of any problem, creative problem solving, I guess. Okay. Very awarded, and if you look him up, you'll see his experience. And my dad was one of the first media guys in advertising to take media out of creative agencies. Okay. So very much traditional madman. Right. Even kind of before Dave's time, and he was within media. So media within McCann Erickson, Leo Burnett, and then set up his own media independent, which took media out of creative agencies. Amazing. Which now you have a creative agency and you have a media agency.
Moving on to you and your career, perhaps you can tell us about one of your most noteworthy projects that you've worked on, and whether it's from a sort of strategy, insight, or creative angle.
Well, in the kind of the you know, 18 years ago, it was very noteworthy to get a brief for business transformation.
Okay.
So it was a very enlightened.
This is the Ogilvy brief.
This is the Ogilvy brief. Very enlightened CEO to spot that, and they allowed me to be a maverick for many years.
Okay.
To problem solve, to see a problem, and then come up with the right solution,
Yeah.
which gave me an appetite for change.
Okay.
And starting to see how we could do things better. But obviously no one likes change. They say they want change, but they don't really like going through it. No one does. But once it's done, it's better.
Yeah.
So it's just going through
that process, getting over the edge and settling down the other side.
So I always felt that I was that kind of personality to bring people on from outside to work very much, not in a hierarchical way of I tell you what to do and I say jump and you say how high, but much more of a collaborative way.
Okay.
And so that started to get me really understanding of who was out there along my journey of, you know, things were happening with Facebook and gaming and mobile and social and AR and VR and behavior change, big data, storytelling. All these things started to be popping up, and it was moving away from just doing a TV ad and a press ad. And I was really interested in all of these things because they were making things easier and better for people. And so, and I had a natural way to collaborate to make things happen. Small teams happen, you know, make things happen very quickly. And so I just found myself being really good at bringing the outside world in.
So we're talking about disruption, and we're a content agency, very interested in content space. So there's a conference, VidCon, a bit like MIPCon, but with a focus on content and video.
Everyone loves a conference.
They do. They're a great way to make some cash. At VidCon, the sort of key announcements were that a lot of the major social platforms are doubling down on their investments in video. You know, we've seen, you know, last year it was big for Facebook going in there. This year we've seen Instagram launch its IGTV. We've seen LinkedIn go big into video. Is this a trend we're going to see going? I'm interested to hear your thoughts around that.
It's not a trend. This has been happening for the last 17 years.
Right.
Because video is a really engaging way to speak to people. But it was always a bit smoke and mirrors. It was always very expensive. You know, if you had to have a flame suite or a smoke or a post-production. Now everyone can do it themselves.
Yeah.
So it was always going to be that once the technology was there in the right people's hands, any small business could start to make video and it be relevant for many people.
So now that distribution channel's there, it's for businesses to use it for their own. And the other thing we hear a lot of is about this short form content. Everything needs to be shorter with video because people's audiences, attention spans are dropping. Do you buy into that?
No, I buy into what's the problem and then find the right solution.
Okay, so coming from what's the business problem?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and that could be not just large corporate businesses, that could be an SME down the road who's just started making their own clothing or jewellery lines or whoever. Maybe people want to see it being made. So maybe there's a relevancy for long form content in watching that.
Yes, yeah. And for big brands as well, presumably.
Yeah, so let's start with the right problem and then get the right solution, which might be long form or it might be a 45 seconds shareable bite size. And
talking of disruption, we've got your book here, Rough Diamond.
Yeah.
What's the reason behind the title?
Well, I like rough diamonds.
Right.
I think they're very entrepreneurial with their thinking.
As people, you mean?
As people.
Yeah.
But the actual name, in answer to your question, came from something that I set up at Ogilvy for future talent. I wanted to move Ogilvy away as part of my lab brief, my innovation lab brief, which was to always be cutting edge and always moving forward. I felt that there was a huge issue with Ogilvy and how they kept always employing white middle class Oxbridge educated, and they weren't thinking differently. So I'm not talking about diversity in colour, I'm talking about diversity as in experiences, life experiences, thinking differently. And so Rough Diamonds was set up to get hold of the 14 to 16-year-olds who were in schools in Hackney, Tower Hamlets and Greenwich. And we worked with Ideas Foundation, and they would find the kids that were about to be expelled. That was the brief I gave them.
Wow.
To come into Ogilvy so that they could see a world they didn't even know existed. Not, off the back of someone's aunt or uncle. I mean, we wanted...
For a set time?
Where we would see them for a week.
Okay.
So they'd have groups of 5, maybe 5 times a year, and they'd come in for a week.
Okay.
We then say to them, keep on tertiary education, go to either Ravensbourne or School Comms Arts, which were part of our Diamond programme.
I see, okay.
Get excited about the creative and arts or music or fashion or whatever, because it was all merging and converging into one big melting pot. And then they would come back to us when they'd finished their second year at those places, and then we would have speed dating with them, about 90 of the kids.
Wow.
And then we would handpick about 5 of them to then work with us for a year. So we pay them London living wage for 12 weeks, and then they'd go back to school in September for their final year. And we'd say the deal was for them to teach the teachers, because we were fed up with the teachers talking about what industry wanted, and they hadn't worked in industry for 30 years. They came back to us for 2 weeks at Christmas, for 2 weeks at Easter, and then we'd look to employ them.
Right, and for people that are watching that would like to be disruptive in their businesses, in their departments, in their own companies, is this the structure of the book? Is that giving a guidance through that?
No, there's 2 things actually. There's the book, which gives my experiences of problems I've encountered over the years, solutions I've put in place, different ways of thinking, different ways of doing, being a bit of a maverick, being a little bit naughty where they've said no and I've done it anyway, type experiences. But it's mainly, the book is about problems like disruption in life and business that everyone comes up against all the time. I mean, that's life, isn't it? Yeah. I've done an online course, and that's much more to give people an understanding of problems that you encountered and solutions you can put in place, and you can actually do a course that is going to help you do that. And that's on 42 courses, and it's how to be an intrapreneur. So an intrapreneur is an entrepreneurial spirit within a large organisation, and how to do things differently. Okay,
great. So this is skills which you can learn and build up and increase your toolkit that you've got to
it's probably something that you're already doing naturally if you're entrepreneurial spirited, but maybe school has bashed it out of you, or corporate life has bashed it out of you of that's not what you do, you follow my rules. When you in your heart or in your tummy know that actually, why can't we do it a different way? And I'm just giving you the skills and the fearlessness and the ability to know that there are people out there who do it in a different way, and it does make it better.
So could you give us an example where you started gaining the confidence as being a disruptor?
I was it really was noticeable when I was given the opportunity to set up the innovation lab at Ogilvy. But because the difference was they said, okay, we want you to do this lab thing, and this was quite a few 12 years ago or something, but we don't have any money. So
at that point, most people would be like, no money, no lab.
Whereas I then thought, great, I've now got the freedom to make it up as I go along. And I'd noticed Rory Sutherland, who still is the chairman of, vice chairman of Ogilvy, and he's a great speaker. And I just said, Rory, if I can I act as your agent, and if I can get you speaking gigs here, there, and everywhere around the world, and I can negotiate money for you to speak, can I keep the money and put it back in my R&D pot for the lab? And he said, absolutely.
Genius.
Rory was my first revenue stream of money into the lab. And that then gave me the freedom and the confidence to just make things up as I was going along.
Fantastic. From just that little initial insight that you spotted, okay, he's not currently charging, but he's a really good speaker. You made the whole department revenue generating. And at which point, presumably, the powers that be were just like, we'll just let her crack on.
The difference was that it was never enough for them. because they wanted for to run my own P&L. I kept away from that, so profit and loss. And I said, no, this is purely for me to experiment and do interesting things and put stuff in the lab and give you good reputations. And but that wasn't enough for them in the end, which is why the CEO at the time got rid of the lab, because it didn't hit the P&L like they wanted it to.
I see. So your focus on it was purely just literally R&D the whole time.
But that they didn't have to pay for.
Disruptive in its own right.
Yeah.
So just to wrap up, could you tell us what you would recommend to anyone that's interested in this, learning more? What would you recommend that they either read or they watch?
I would recommend that they do.
Recommend that they do.
Yes.
Just get on and do it.
Get on and do it. Stop talking about it. Stop thinking about it. Stop reading about it. Find something and that's where people stop you.
Right.
They stop you doing because they're frightened, they're paralysed.
And what's next for you? What's next for where do you head to next?
Okay, so my company, the NYC, I've got my dad working with me with like Yershon Media. He's consulting directly with CEOs, working out their spend and their media and what they should be doing, what they could be doing, do things differently. Because we know where the bodies are buried in that kind of space. So there's a few of us that are working quite closely with brands directly.
So if brands and or organisations or managers or CEOs would like a little bit of your plain talking style, where could they reach you and get hold of you?
My name is literally on everything. There's only me.
Okay.
There's only Nicole Yershon. Just type it into Google.
Give you a call.
My email, my Twitter, my LinkedIn. It's all on there.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing some time with us today.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Cheers.